2, number 3. It's 100, 200. Let's go for 3. And first round impact. Hey guys, back with a new video, and we are looking at the Primary Arms PLXc 1-8. This is the M8 Griffin reticle. So I bought this optic last year, probably about 9 months ago, and I put a lot of use through this. I shot it at the range. I went to a shooting course with Joe Farewell, and it's got a lot of use through it. I wanted to actually use this thing before I did a review on it, because yeah, you can do a review on something, be like, oh, this is super cool, but you know, a lot of people do that and they don't actually use their stuff. So I put it through a lot. You can see it's painted now. It's been through a decent amount of testing, right? Enough where I can get and give you a pretty good overall view on this optic, what it's capable of, and if it's worth it. So in the video, I'm going to talk about the performance of it, the capabilities, features of it, whether it's worth it, price-wise compared to other options, and any potential drawbacks that I found with this scope. Let's start off and see what it came with out of the box, right? So it comes in a nice like cardboard box that is like magnetic open. That's kind of neat, and then some nice foam packaging. Okay. A lot better packaging than you'd get with any of their SLX versions, right? This is the Platinum line, which is made in Japan. And so it's a little bit better quality than the SLX lines, which are made in the Philippines. So let's take a look inside this box. Okay, comes with an extra turret right here. So if you want to have a dialable turret, you can put that on top instead. You can replace that out. It came with a whole bunch of stuff. A bunch of Allen keys and screws for the scope in case you lose it. A little scope cloth, like an optic lens cloth, and a sunshade, which I never really used, but not bad. Came with a battery. I already had one, so I didn't need that one. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, that it comes with these rubber scope caps, which I really like. Sometimes they'll come with some of the plastic flip-up scope caps, which I always lose. I'll lose one, or I'll lose the other, or it breaks, and I'm like, well, that's freaking useless. This is actually pretty dang money. So any LPVO makers out there, you just include this. This is all you need. It goes on. You don't lose pieces because there's only one piece. Rubberized, good protection. That's what I want. That's what I think most people want. Super awesome. All right, this optic is not cheap. Let's talk about that first, right? We're talking about $1,500 on their website. So it's not, you know, it's definitely not in the same budget as you'd see the 1:8 SLX versions. So I'll throw up on the screen right now all the specs. It's using 2032 battery, which is pretty common. It has 1/10 of a mil click value, which was nice when you're zeroing this thing. First focal plane. It's a 1:8 magnification. It is night vision compatible. The reticle, and this one is the ACSS Griffin mill. It uses MRADs, uses mills in the reticle, which is nice, as well as using their holdovers. It says total elevation adjustment 29 mils, which that's a decent amount of mils for windage. But the greatest feature of this scope is going to be the weight of it. And it is 16.95 ounces, which is pretty damn lightweight when it comes to LPVOs, right? Especially one of this quality in a first focal plane. Usually the first focal planes are a bit heavier than the second focal planes, but Primary Arms was able to get all these features in this one package, which I loved, right? We got first focal plane, 1:8, great glass, dialable turrets if you want them, in that lightweight package, and it's more compact. The previous version of the PLX was a little bit longer and it was a little bit heavier. So I was waiting and I was waiting. I'm like, I was on the fence. I wanted one of these for a while, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna test it, and I'm really happy that I did. I think it is a awesome scope. So it has a throw lever right here. All right, we've got really solid turrets that you can dial here. And then very easy to zero, no issues. I didn't end up using the dialable turrets. I like the enclosed for this because I'm not dialing with this optic. You could if you wanted to, but not on a rifle setup like this. We also have very easy to use illumination. Is it super bright? No, it's not super bright. People are like, oh, is it daylight bright? No, not really. But also, I'm not using an optic, like a reticle like this with a red dot during the day anyways. I prefer it to be that black reticle. It's just easier to see, and there's more contrast on targets when we're shooting. Right now I have it in a Badger Ordnance mount, and I really like that mount. Very, very good return to zero. I can take it off, put it back on, and it's still zeroed, which is pretty baller. It just feels, when you get it out of the box and you're messing around it with the throw lever, right? With the turrets, everything about it feels next level compared to the SLX. The SLX optics are good and they work. I've used them. I've shot out to like pretty far with just a 1:8, like I think 800 or 900 yards, maybe 1,000 yards. This thing is, you can just feel the quality difference. It's very noticeable, very noticeable. And it should be for, 3 times the price, 4 times the price. Let's talk about the glass, right? When we pull this up, and you can see right now, you'll see in this image, I mean, it's like a vortex. It's like a vortex razor when you're looking at it. I mean, you can almost barely see the edge of the scope. It is super clear. When you pull that up, I'm just seeing glass as opposed to scope and glass, which is what you'd see with the SLX versions. They did a very good job. And when I got this, I was like, wow, man, that is freaking nice. And like I said, it should be, right? $1,500 scope, so should be pretty good quality. So it has great features, right? Really good features on this thing. The question is, performance-wise, how does it do? So I use this in all different kinds of engagements: short distance, close up, then check it out long distance, shooting out to 600 yards. I feel like I shot out to 800 with it. It gets very difficult. It's hard to see the impacts, and if you're by yourself spotting, it's tough. But 600 and in, super solid and super first round impact. Repeatable hits with this optic. It's made so you can range out to 6. But like I said, I ran this through a rifle course with Joe Farewell, and I started off using an EOTech, and that was great. But then I switched over, like let me use the 1:8, using the 1:8, and it was working really well. Now, is it going to be as fast as a red dot for up close shooting? No, it's not going to be. It probably never will be. It's pretty close. What I would say is, if you're going to be doing mostly like 10 meters and in shooting, an EOTech would probably be your best choice, right? But if you need to take any shots, right, we're talking 20, 40, 50, 150 to 300, then this is not going to be any slower than a red dot, and I would say it would be better. We were shooting at about 50 yards with this thing on steel targets, and for whatever reason, that inner horseshoe, it was almost as if you put that on a silhouette, a human-sized silhouette, and pull that trigger, you were going to get a hit. We took it out, and then I did some long range shooting. I wanted to see how well this ranging reticle works, and I thought this scope was great. I thought it was fantastic. And then I actually read the manual and used the ranging reticle and the holdovers for that, and I was getting first round impacts out to 600 yards.
I think what it is to be my range about 300 yards. So I'm going to use the reticle as the chevron. Basically the width of that chevron is about the width of that target, so it should be about 300. I'm going to put a shot on target and see what we get. Okay, cool. That was an impact.
Target is out there. Just shot out there. I wasn't recording, so that's pretty sweet. I estimated it to be 500. I shot high, had to recorrect. Second shot impact. I'll see if I can do it again. I estimated 450 then as a correction, and when I lased it, it was 432. So pretty close. Reticle's not bad. So I got a little bit more stable in a kneeling position down here. Wind's dying down a little bit, but before we had about 20 mile an hour winds coming through. And first round impact. Cool. The 6 hash line, probably the top of the shoulders, and I'll probably hold right edge. Just gotta know the wind. So let's try that out. Okay, so using the reticle, again, estimation 625. Let's see what we can do. First round hit, pretty damn effective. I didn't have a rangefinder, and I would go out back and forth, different ranges, and I would estimate, take a shot, get a hit, then I'd laze it. I ranged it at 300 using the reticle, it was 315. Or I shot impact sick, estimated with the reticle that it was 450, it was 460 or 470. Close enough that I would get hits, first round hits on target. So once I did that, and once I realized the true capability of this optic, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it was worth it. Between the glass, the quality of the glass, and being able to see, I clearly identify a target, range it, shoot it, no problems. That's huge. That's money. That takes a lot of thinking out of the equation. And I'm a long range guy, right? So I like to dial. I want to say, oh, it's at 456. Okay, cool. I need 2.1 mils. I was tempted to put on the dialable turret, but I'm like, you know what? Let me just test it as is. And after shooting with this, I actually don't want to dial. It's just a lot of extra steps that are unneeded from 0 to 600. You just don't need to dial. You don't. Now, if you're trying to shoot small, PRS style targets, like one MOA targets, this is not the rifle setup that you need to be using, right? This is not what you'd use anyways. So yeah, it's not gonna work for that, right? It'll work for realistic and practical combat scenarios. All right, I'll say combat, right? say you have AI bots, you know, they are robots roaming the streets, they're human size, 19, 18 inches wide, you know how to engage it with this. I'd use 308, probably not 5.56. That's all on a different video for a different time. Yeah, then I took it in and we did some close-up shooting. I said, okay, well, it can, obviously it's a magnified optic. It's gonna perform well at distance. What about close up? How are the transitions going to be between targets? Because that's, when you're up close, trying to transition with a 1 to 8 is usually more difficult. It's more difficult than with a red dot or with the Neotech. And using this gun, right, with this optic, you can pretty much, I usually keep it at 1.5 for that kind of transitions, right? I have it in a 1.7 inch mount, so I can keep a head up position while I'm looking through. But there's no real issues at all with transitions. Is it going to be faster with a red dot? Sure, it probably is. But if you just have one optic, it's going to work. It's going to work, especially if you train. Right? The key is you need reps. You need reps in with this thing. If you don't get the reps in, it doesn't matter. If you don't train consistently with your setup, you are not going to know what works or what doesn't work. That's even more important. Man, this is a very, very capable optic, and I freaking love it. It is just, it's like there's not even an optic there, right? Even on the edges of this glass, it is still crisp clear. There's no distortions. Man, it is clear. And since my eyesight is not 100% the best, it's even clearer through this, right? Real life is even more real through this optic. So, pretty neat, right? I brought this out to a range that ranged from 100 meters out to 400, and I was just using the reticle and getting impacts all the way out. I'm gonna start at 100 and just work my way out. Let's see what I got. All right, 100 yards. Too easy. 200. Too easy. That's about 300, so got it. About 350. Hit. Let's go for 400. Okay, just how to hold the left edge. I'll hold the left edge. There's usually a crosswind over there. Number 2. Number 3. Let's go 350. Nice. Cool. So you have it, the PLX 1 to 8. Very, very cool, very, very fast optic. So let's talk about the reticle. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but it is the Griffin Mill M8, which is in meters, reticle. And like I said, on 1X, it just has it has the crosshairs, little reticle in the middle. It looks like a circle. You're putting that on the target, you're getting hits, right? If I need to get out to distance, boom, now I have a ranging reticle as well as the Griffin style dots, which will help you immensely, right? If you see the impact on target or just right or left, it has those dots so you can adjust, pull over, take the second shot, impact. So if you do miss, you can get up quick follow-up shots, which I love with this, especially if you're using it with a semi-auto kind of gun. I don't want to say a DMR or SPR because you need more magnification for like an SPR rifle, but you're able to at least have a reference point of, oh shit, it impacted right next to that dot. I'm gonna pull that dot over to the target, pull the trigger, impact. So very, very cool. I really like that. I'll do a different video on the reticle if you guys want and how to use it, but it is money. Right, we've talked its praises, but how about the drawbacks? What are the cons of this optic? Realistically, I don't have any cons. It's worked. It works really well. Everything about it is top notch. So what I can say is things that I prefer, right? Would it be great if it was a 1 to 10? Yeah, that'd be sweet. But then you're getting into a heavier optic, larger diameter tube. Besides that, it's the drawback of any LPVO. It's not gonna be as fast as a red dot, but that's not this optic's fault. It's any LPVO 1 to 8 that you're gonna be using. So it's not really a drawback. That's not really a con. I'm not gonna hold that against primary arms, against this optic at all. All right, guys, let's talk comparisons. What does this compare to? And if you are looking at other optics, is this a better choice? Performance-wise, a competitor to the Vortex razors. And those things are 2,000 up, right? So it's cheaper than that. I think it's better than that. I've used the Night Force attackers, the 1 to 8s, and I prefer this. Say we take away the price. I would choose this over a Vortex razor. I'd choose it over the Night Force. I think it's a better optic. With the reticle, especially compared to the Night Force, the attackers, the 1 to 8s, this has less distortion in the glass, it's lighter, and the reticle is just better. Now we're gonna get that comparison for the cheaper optics. Does it compare to an SLX? It's better than that, obviously. The glass is better, the turrets are better, the weight savings is better, the distortion, the eye box, everything about it is better. But is it worth 4 times as much? That's the question you gotta ask yourself. Yeah, physically this is better than all those optics. If this wasn't primary arms and it was a different brand, you'd see it $2,000 at least, a $2,000 optic. Like not MSRP, like you'd be paying $2,000 for this. So those are the main competitors, but I think this thing wins hands down. And if you've used one, people are gonna be like, oh, it's not better than a Night Force. Okay, have you used one? Because I have. This is better. I prefer this. So basically this is one of the most budget premium optics you can get. When I say budget, I mean it's the lowest priced of a premium optic you'll get. Now let's talk about one of the most important things. Is it worth it? And this is a really loaded question because for the applications that you might use it for, I mean, yes, it'll be worth it 100%, or it might not. Like I said, I've had great success with the other primary arms 1 to 8s. I had the SLX 1 to 8 with the ACSS Raptor reticle. Really like that. Pretty good optic, very good reticle. I thought it was great, and honestly, for most people, that'll probably fit the bill for what you're getting an LPVO for. Who do I see this for? This is not a cheap optic. This is one of the most expensive optics I've bought. All right, I get Arcan optics for 500 bucks. When it comes to that, I try to get the best value, right? It's not so much budget, but value. I use the Arcans, and I don't see a need to get anything better right now. It's for what I'm using it for, it does everything I need it to. This 1 to 8, if you're using this for work, if you have a gun set up where you have flashlights, lasers, you have offset red dots, all that weight adds up, and that's when you'll start to really appreciate the weight savings of this LPVO. There's great 1 to 8s out there, but they're heavy, or they're crazy expensive. The second feature is the crystal clearness of that glass and just being able to get behind it, and it's just, there's no distortion. It's like I'm looking through glass. You barely see that scope ring. So if that's important for you, then okay, if you want to spend the $1,500, now they're always having the save 12% off over at Primary Arms, then 13 to be like 1,300 bucks, right? They do have a premier optics saving program for military dudes and police, and you get a pretty good deal on that. I think it's like $1,000 so it's not bad. So that being said, right, is it worth it? To me, yeah, it's worth it, and I don't regret. Once I bought it and I looked through it, I had no regrets from that point on. I knew I had one of the most solid, great functioning optics for like it was like 13 hundo. Initially I was like, should I have bought that? When it came in the mail, I opened it up, I looked through it, mounted it on the gun, I was like, yeah, this is pretty freaking nice. I'm not gonna lie. So that depends, it's up to you. It's up to you what you're using it for, what your budget is, and what you need it to do. For me, I love this thing. It has been one of the best purchases of an optic I've ever made. So I'm not trying to hype it up. Primary Arms doesn't sponsor this. They should. Primary Arms, I'm taking applications for sponsorships. Anyone else you can apply to. We'll see. We'll see if I take it. But yeah, it's just super freaking happy with this setup in the Badger Ordnance, that 1-7. So great optic. Hey guys, thanks for watching the review. One quick little message. Whatever system and setup that you have, use it, train with it, get the reps in so that you know it. It doesn't matter if you have the newest, coolest thing. If you don't have all the reps in, it doesn't really matter. Also, a lot of influencers say, if you're not fit, you're gonna die, especially in a shit hit the fan situation. That's great, right? But what exactly should you be doing? And a lot of people don't know. So I wrote a book, it's down below, Tactical Athlete, pretty badass. I included every exercise from strength training to cardio, sprints, everything you'd need in a shit hit the fan situation. And I've also included meal plans, so you really have everything that you need in that book. Now, why am I shamelessly plugging that right now? It's because this channel gets no funding. That would really help support the channel, plus you'd be getting in better shape. So it's a win-win. So go ahead and grab that to get in the best shape of your life while also supporting this channel, which would be awesome. And if you don't, well, I guess you don't love America and you're a communist.